And joining us on the island state, or from the island state rather, is Roger de Robillard, the Mauritius honorary representative in Sydney. That's in Australia, of course. It's good to have you on the program, Roger. Australia is a country that is right on the doorstep of Asia and has been making good investments into that part of the world. Yet, according to the information that was sent through to us earlier, you having quite a bit of success in getting the Australians to look via Mauritius into Africa. What is it about this continent that's appealing?
Hello from sunny Mauritius, Alec. Thank you. Well, Australia is also on the edge of the Indian Ocean and therefore a neighbor of Mauritius as well. And we already have something like 220 mining companies, listed mining companies, working in Africa. There's something like $54 billion worth of investment only in the mining space. So we already have scored points there. What I'm trying to do now is to try to do things other than mining and to concentrate on the services that Mauritius can afford the Australian companies in order to optimize their returns and their performance for their shareholders by putting its structure through Mauritius.
You've got a high regard in many parts of the world. When I say you, talking about Mauritius itself, here in South Africa, we are watching you go out of sight when it comes to the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report. But how is Mauritius perceived amongst the Australians?
Well, at the moment, we are fighting a bit of a rearguard action because some of our competitors, because let's not kid ourselves, the financial services field is crowded with very aggressive people. And at the moment, people are trying to make out that Mauritius is some sort of tax haven. But I rely on what Lynn Pickard, the head of private equity for the African Development Bank, just said this week in Mauritius when she was asked, would you use Mauritius as a base if there were no tax advantages? And her answer was simple, yes. And she actually said nothing else. And people challenged her and she said no. There are so many other good services, accountants, lawyers, judicial system. We have our ultimate court of appeal is the Privy Council. These are the reasons intelligent investors use Mauritius as a base.
So you have good laws, you have a good financial services business, and you have tax advantages on top of them. But the Australians are a little cautious.
Well, only because certain people out there are trying to well, first of all, they lack knowledge, and there's only been a couple of articles in the newspapers, but that's all there has been. But no one, if you look at those articles, you will find that they don't actually name Mauritius as the tax haven. They simply try to sweep Mauritius in with other countries. For instance, just recently, yesterday, there was an article in the Sydney Morning Herald where they showed that the top two countries being used by Australian companies as for overseas structures are Singapore and Hong Kong. Mauritius came number 5. But what they said was there are some good reasons to use Singapore and Hong Kong, but against that, the exotic locations, as they say, are used as tax havens. But nowhere in that article do they name Mauritius. Mauritius is simply named more or less by implication because it's number 5 on a list of the top 10 countries in the world.
So you've got a lot of work to do on the Aussies, but you certainly have managed to change the hearts and minds of people in many other parts of the world. Is that the fact that you guys are coming out so strongly in various competitiveness reports, now number 1 by far in Africa, for instance, from the World Economic Forum, is that a sense of national pride? Is that a sense of a goal achieved?
Certainly. I mean, Mauritius is one of the few countries where 70% of our GDP comes from services. So like Singapore, we don't have any natural resources, but our natural resources are our people. And there are also people like me who left or was removed from Mauritius by my parents when I was 13 years of age, who keep coming back and want to contribute to the welfare and the progress of our country. So I think there are a lot of people like me who form part of a diaspora who are, gunning for Mauritius and trying to score goals even from Sydney, Australia.
Or to train winners, as would be the case with the main guards here in South Africa. Roger de Robillard is the Mauritius honorary representative in Sydney, Australia.